when you're chasing somebody so badly because you want them so badly, so desperately, and you have all these fantasies in their head, and every time you go on a date with them or talk to them, they're just so different, and they treat you so different, so much better than everybody else and all the other guys or all the other girls. But then you find yourself in a place where you're always making the plans. You're always the one that's reaching out. You're always the one that's texting first. You're always the one that's doing the most, and they're never reciprocating. That's gonna fuck you up. What's up, guys? Welcome back to episode number 26 of the Jason Scalora Show. We're back today in the studio by myself doing a solo episode. Once again, alone, because I have no friends. Just kidding. There are some people that will be hopping on the podcast soon, but for now we're doing another one solo on relationships tonight, 7:58 p.m. So I have a couple questions. I don't know if I'm actually going to get to them because there's a couple things I wanted to touch on first, and I may just talk about this enough to the point where I think that's sufficient for the episode. We're just going to see where it takes us, and that's that. This is what I wrote down in my notes. Do not invest in someone based on how much you like them. Invest in them based on how much they invest in you. And that is a quote. I don't know if it's a direct quote from Matthew Hussey. I've heard him say that a million times, and I could not agree more. So do not invest in somebody based on how much you like them or how much you think that they like you. Invest in somebody based on how much they are investing in you. That's how much you should invest in somebody. And again, that's from Matthew Hussey. Side note, strongly recommend checking out his content. I'm in no way affiliated with him, nor does he even know I exist, most likely. But really, especially relationship content, he is the fucking man, and I've learned a lot from him. And yeah, check him out. Anyways, why would you invest in somebody based on how much they invest in you rather than how much you like that person? It would only make sense to, in a sense, follow the emotion. Like, if you like them a lot, invest in them because you like them a lot. But here's the thing is, that's what leads to extremely, extremely painful experiences. And I see it all the time with college students. I had this conversation a couple days ago with one of my friends, and she was talking to me. She was like, there's this guy I'm talking to. We're not dating, but we're talking, whatever the hell that means. And what was happening was she was experiencing a ton of pain because she was investing in him based on how much she liked him. She liked him so much, but he wasn't really giving her much back. And you see this a lot, especially with college students. Like, a girl will chase a guy, or the guy will chase the girl first. Doesn't really matter. But then she gets super invested in him, and then usually after he has sex with her, all of a sudden he's out. He hits the road. And so maybe he does it gradually. Maybe he just gives her the cold shoulder, anywhere in between there. But the case of the matter is, a girl will eventually get to a point where she's investing in a guy based on how much she likes him rather than how much that guy is investing in her. And that is a recipe for disaster, right? And there's a couple reasons. The first reason is when you start investing in somebody based on how much you like them rather than how much they invest themselves in you, you tend to push people away because it's very unattractive from either perspective for somebody to be super, super invested in you and for you to not be super, super invested in them. Right? It's a similar vibe to when you first meet somebody and they immediately start spilling their whole life story and all of their tragedies and all of their, traumatic experiences about life. Like, when you meet those kinds of people, and we've all had that experience, it's a very weird and uncomfortable thing because you just met this person. You're not meant to, go and open up with all of your life's tragedies on your first date with somebody. That's not how first dates go. That's weird. We're not wired to be that way. In 9 out of 10 cases, that's the wrong approach to building a relationship with somebody because you're not close with them. You haven't established enough rapport with them. You don't know enough about them. You don't know if you can fully trust them. Like, to spill your life story doesn't make any sense and is just a sign of immaturity. Jesus, I'm on a rant. But what I'm getting at here is that's the same vibe that you get when you're investing in somebody more than they're investing in you, right? Like I said, the typical example is a college girl where she will be super in love with this guy, head over heels for him, and he's just kind of meh about her. And she invests and invests and invests and takes time out of her day to, put him as a priority and does everything for him. And he kind of gives her 30% effort, and she's going 110%, 120% just to try and be with this guy. First of all, that's very unattractive to the guy because when you're sort of, not super interested in a girl and she's super, I want your attention all day. Like, it's a little it turns you off because you're like, why do you like me way more than I like you? This is just weird. it goes for both sides. It can be a guy chasing a girl, and it happens all the time. It's happened to me. And that leads to pain because the more you want them, the less they want you. And that cycle continues. And at the same time, they're not investing in you, and it's going to make it even harder for them to want to invest in you because they're turned off by the fact that you're so head over heels for somebody. You're so head over heels for them when they don't really care that much about you, or at least not to the same extent that you do. That's the first thing. The second thing is you have to put yourself first. When you're chasing somebody so badly because you want them so badly, so desperately, and you have all these fantasies in their head, and every time you go on a date with them or talk to them, they're just so different, and they treat you so different and so much better than everybody else and all the other guys or all the other girls. But then you find yourself in a place where you're always making the plans. You're always the one that's reaching out. You're always the one that's texting first. You're always the one that's doing the most, and they're never reciprocating. That's going to fuck you up. There's no doubt about it. Because when you're in that spot of, I'm so invested in you and they're not reciprocating, then you're in a place where you're losing so much of your time, you're losing so much of your energy, you're losing so much of your focus on this one person when it's not going to lead to anything, right? It's reasonable to invest in somebody. It's reasonable to invest in somebody a lot if you're truly in love with them and they're truly in love with you because there's a future there. That's what an investment is. This is why it's so important to understand this concept, because when you start to invest in somebody based on how much you like them and you don't take account for how much they're investing in you, then you're not taking into account what an investment actually means. What an investment actually means is that you are planning to have a future, or there is some sort of future with this person. And when you're investing in somebody and they're not reciprocating, you're no longer investing, you're spending. You're spending your time, you're spending your effort, you're spending your energy on this one person. You're spending all this time trying to get them to like you, trying to get them to give you your attention, trying to get them to give you their focus. When in reality, you need to be putting yourself first because you're not actually investing in this person. If there's no future there, you have to let it go. And I know it's painful. But the fact of the matter is there's no shit-free path. I wish there was. There's not. You either let it go and stop trying to reel them in and investing in them, aka spending your time, focus, and energy on them, or you lose all the time. And not for nothing, during this time period where you could be searching for somebody else, putting yourself out there, doing your own thing, and bumping into the right person at the right time, you're now spending all this time, energy, and effort on things that aren't going to bring you anywhere. It's perfectly reasonable to invest in somebody that you see a future with. But just because you like somebody doesn't mean there's a future with them, right? So maybe I can explain it in this way. Where like, if you like somebody, that doesn't mean that they're guaranteed to be your husband or wife in 20 years. Just because you have feelings for them, because you got a crush on them or whatever. Because if they don't like you back, it's never going to go anywhere. So you saying you're reaching out all the time and they're not reciprocating, and you're giving all this effort and energy and they're not reciprocating, is now a you problem. Because once you understand that they are not investing in you how much you would like them to, now you need to take it into your own hands. Does it suck? Absolutely. But you need to pull back. Because if they don't care about you, you need to pull back. Doesn't mean you don't care about them. It means you invest in them based on how much they're investing in you. If they kind of want a relationship, but they don't really know, and that's not what you want, then stop. You have to let it go. You have to let it go. Like I just said, I see this all the time with college women, where they'll be head over heels for a guy, and they'll be sleeping with them for a while, and the guy mostly wants a fling, and she knows it, but he words it in a way or is flat out a liar or whatever. It makes it seem like there is a potential for a relationship, and so she stays and gives him his time and his space because he needs to figure things out or whatever. And then she gets hurt by it because eventually it reaches the point of where he's like, actually, sorry, not going to happen. I don't think this is right for me. And then she gets all hurt about it. The truth is if you had actually allowed yourself to invest, the truth is if you had trusted your gut feeling when you understood that this isn't going anywhere, you wouldn't be nearly as hurt when you realized it was time to step away, whether you had slept with them or not. And if nothing, you don't have to sleep with the person for them to know that they want to be in a relationship with you. If a guy wants to hook up with you and just fuck you, but you don't want that, you don't have to do that. If a guy wants to just hook up with you and you don't want to have sex with him, you don't have to, obviously. If you don't want to do anything with a guy unless you're in a relationship, you don't have to do anything with a guy unless you're in a relationship. Just because you like him a lot doesn't mean you should sacrifice your values and your morals because you like him. Because if he actually likes you back, and I mean actually likes you back, he'll put in the time and the effort and the energy, and he'll be vulnerable enough to get into a relationship, even if he has all these reasons not to. That's the truth. So you have to decide whether or not you're going to stay in this position of not having what you want, but settling for what he's giving you, and decide how long you're going to put up with that. But the fact is the longer you wait, the worse it gets. But you can avoid it from the beginning by just trusting your gut or by just having the conversation. If you tell yourself, I don't want to hook up with a guy or do anything sexual with a guy unless we're in a relationship, and he says, well, I need time to think about it, but let's hook up anyways, you say, have time to think about it, but we're not hooking up. Sorry. And then he can decide whether or not he wants to be in a relationship with you, and he can take it from there. That's fine. But if he's not willing to invest in you, don't invest in him. And especially don't sacrifice your morals and your values because you like him, because you want him to like you. I see that all the time. The amount of tears I've seen shed from women that hook up with guys because they like them, and then the guy leaves because he never really liked them for who they were and he just wanted to hook up, is incredibly, incredibly higher than you would think. It's crazy. But the fact is the woman needs to take responsibility for themselves and understand that if you know you're going to get hurt because you like this guy, and if you hook up with him and he leaves you, you'll be hurt by that. Don't hook up with him unless you know that there's commitment there. Well, I thought, no. Did you ask, this is always what I say, did you ask him or did you make it official like we're together? You're invested in me, I'm invested in you. Now I'm willing to go places with you sexually and commitment-wise. Now I'm willing to be vulnerable and open to you. Did that happen? It's always no, there's no but. You wouldn't have gotten hurt. You just didn't want to fucking see the truth in front of your face because you knew it was going to hurt. But it hurts even more now that you slept with him and know for sure that he's not interested in you because he's not talking to you anymore. It didn't have to get to that point. You allowed it to get there by not trusting your intuition and seeing it straight up for what it is from the start. From the start. Is it painful? For sure. Liking somebody and having them not like you back sucks. But what's worse is going down that road and letting it snowball until it crashes and explodes. You don't have to wait for that. Learn your lesson. How many times are you going to have to get hit in the head before you realize, maybe I am the one that's being an idiot? Is it the guy's fault? Yeah. Sometimes guys lie. Sometimes they're assholes. Sometimes men are trash. Sure. That doesn't mean you need to be the idiot that keeps falling for the guys that aren't going to like you back or invest in you. Because if you keep doing it over and over again, sorry, it's not all the men. Are they all liars and assholes, the ones that you talk to? Maybe, sure. I don't know. I don't know what you've gone through. But if you keep talking to guys that are lying to you and make it seem like that they want a relationship and whatnot, maybe you need to take a look at yourself and start to ask yourself, okay, why am I only talking to these guys? Why do I always run into shitty guys? That's like a guy who says, I just can't get girls because of my height, or I just can't get girls because of X, Y, and Z. I just can't get girls because of this. No one's interested in me because of this. 99% of the time, it's like, okay, is there a girl out there that would be interested in you? Yes. Okay, so then can you do something about it? Yes. Okay, so then why are you still complaining? I don't know either. But the point is, do not invest in somebody based on how much you like them. Invest in somebody based on how much they invest in you. Because if you choose not to, go for it. But you're going to have to learn the lesson the hard way. That's all I'm saying. I don't know. It's hard to say because it sucks and I see it all the time, but you got to just chill with that. And there's a lot of tough girls out there that can give you good advice. It's probably better for a girl to give it to you than me, but based on what I've seen, it's the same thing over and over again. The girl likes the guy, she sleeps with him because she likes him and thinks maybe slightly in some universe out there he might eventually like her back. And she thinks maybe having sex with him will get him to push her over the edge or whatever. And then after she sleeps with him, he's on his merry way and doesn't want anything to do with her anymore. And then she's mad, calling him an asshole and complaining to her friends. And this is the 100th time it's happened. And then she blames all the men. And then she's the girl that says all men are trash. Are all the guys you talk to liars? Maybe. But maybe you need to take responsibility and decide, I'm no longer going to hook up with any guys unless I know for sure, that they're going to invest in me fully and be fully committed the way I am. And you can do that. You can do that. And here's the other side of the coin, just to play devil's advocate. Let's say maybe every time you do that, every single time you hook up with a guy, you tell him, okay, unless this is going somewhere, I'm not hooking up with you. Unless this is a relationship, I'm not hooking up with you. Unless you're committed, I'm not hooking up with you. And he says, yeah, puts on a whole facade and it makes it seem like it is something that it's completely not and just does you dirty and plays you. It happens. It happens often. I get it. But if it keeps happening to you, you gotta stop pointing the finger at all the guys. Is it their fault that it happened? Probably. Are they dickheads for it? Probably. But whose responsibility is it now to pick up the pieces? Not theirs. That's for sure. So what can you do about that? What can you do about the fact that you attract trash men all the time or trash women all the time? What can you do to change that? The answer is make yourself into a better person. That's the answer. You know why? Because when you start working on yourself, you begin to attract the better people into your life. Right? Because if you're at a low frequency, because you don't take care of yourself, you don't take care of your mental health, your physical health, your spirituality, your finances, your career, you don't take care of those things, you're going to be at a very low frequency and you're going to attract other people that are on the same frequency. But when you start to make your life better, start to become a happier person, a healthier person, a better person, a person that you respect and love more and are more confident living in, then you raise your frequency. And then people in that higher frequency are going to be attracted to you too. I hope that makes sense. Because once you start to do that, the liars and the assholes and the dickheads of guys and girls who are on a low frequency are going to be on that low frequency. And from your new vantage point, you're going to be able to see that. You're going to be able to see, I'm not going to settle for this guy. I'm not going to sleep with this guy. I'm not going to talk to this girl. She's not worth my time. Not that you're a better human being, but you're at a higher frequency. You're happier with your life. You're more fulfilled. You're not going to settle for somebody that's not happy and fulfilled with themselves when they could do those things. Right? It's like, here's a good example. Like people that exercise know this damn well. Most relationships where there's at least one person that exercises are between two people that exercise. And the reason is because someone who takes care of their physical health is much more likely to only want to be with somebody else that takes care of their physical health. Not because they're fat phobic, but because they don't want to settle for somebody that doesn't value their body, or at least the way that they do. Not that you want somebody with, some supermodel Kim K body. That's not what that means. Somebody that takes care of their health. Like for me, that's an absolute must. If I'm going to date you and be in a relationship with you, I'm not going to settle for you unless you take care of your body. You don't have to be in some supermodel shape. You don't need to look like Kim K, but you damn well better take care of your body. But the ironic part is I would never have that value for myself if I didn't take care of my body. If I didn't take care and prioritize my own physical health. Because that's not right. And not for nothing, no girl that takes care of their physical health, bearing maybe a few exceptions, but most girls that take care of their physical health aren't going to settle for a guy that doesn't take care of their own. And rightfully so. Is that a value of some people? Can you argue that? Maybe. Sure. Most cases, more times than not, I would argue, people that take care of their physical health are only going to settle for other people that take care of their physical health. That's just one example. For me, I want a woman that takes care of their physical health, takes care of their spirituality, their finances, their career, is pursuing something meaningful, and is working on being more happy and fulfilled than they were yesterday. That's what I look for. Not a perfect girl, but a girl that's striving for perfection. Not that she has to be some sadistically obsessed person about it to be the Michael Jordan of personal development. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying somebody that's always aiming up. That's what I'm saying. And when you're always aiming up and are actually aiming up, through your actions and the way you live your life, you're going to raise your frequency and you're not going to settle for somebody on a lower one. This is the advice I tell all women. All those bad bitches, all those girls that actually take care of themselves, put themselves first. Prioritize their self-improvement. Prioritize their physical health, their mental health, their spirituality, making their lives better, are not the women that settle for the douchebags that lie to them and cheat on them and make them feel like shit and don't invest in them and make them feel shitty about who they are. They don't settle for those dudes, and vice versa. That doesn't happen. You know why? Because they know what they're worth, because they live that. They don't. And I actually saw a clip about this the other day, and there was a lot of hate comments in the comment section on the video, on the clip. And it was a guy talking about how, and it got a little political, but essentially what it was the guy was talking to a woman, and he was asking her, he was like, well, what decides what a woman is worth, right? How do you decide your self-worth? And she responded with, well, a woman just knows her self-worth. And he's like, okay, but how was that decided? How was worth, how was it configured, calculated? How do you improve how worthy you are? If you think your self-worth is super high, why is that? And she was like, well, they just decide. And it's like, no, they don't. They actually don't. No one does. You don't just get to decide how much you love yourself. You don't get to decide how confident you are. You can't just wake up one day and be like, you know what? I'm going to be confident about who I am today. That doesn't work that way. It just doesn't. If you don't take care of your body and you know you could be in better shape and you want to be in better shape, not because you want to look like Kim Kardashian or Brock Lesnar, but because you know that you could be better. Because you know that if you actually respected yourself, you'd take care of your body. Because you know those things inherently. If you actually started to live that way, you would feel better about yourself, not because you think differently, but because you act differently. You treat yourself differently. You start treating yourself like you love yourself, so you start to love yourself. Ironic. It doesn't come from thinking, I love myself, I love myself, I love myself. You can look in the mirror all day. If you're overweight, don't take care of your mental health, don't have good relationships with the people that you love, and aren't following a career path and taking care of your finances, like if you don't do those things, or at least most of those things, you're not going to look in the mirror and after you say, I love yourself a million times, begin to love who you are. You can't do that. Is there an aspect of self-love that's accepting and has to understand that you're flawed and that you make mistakes and that you're not going to be perfect and not everyone's going to look like Kim K and accept you for who you are? Yes. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't strive to be better in the areas that you can strive to be better, right? Like me, for example, I'm 5'8". I'm a short guy, right? And for a long time, I was super insecure about that. But once I started actually improving the things that I could improve and controlling the things that I could control, that insecurity level dropped and dropped and dropped and dropped and dropped. Because the reason why I was so insecure was because I wasn't controlling the things that I could control. And once I started exercising, reading, cleaning my spaces, trying to improve my relationships, and started aiming up in my life, I no longer cared about how short I was, because I valued my own word on myself. And when I valued my own word and I actually thought highly of myself, I no longer was so reliant on the opinions of others, which fluctuated greatly, rather than the opinion of myself. Because when you don't have a good opinion of who you are, then you look for external sources. But then you throw yourself in the game. Because sometimes people are going to say, you're so pretty, or in my case, I don't care about height, you're super hot the way you are. You rely on those comments, and then when you get a shitty one, you hear that too. But when you have a good opinion of yourself and who you are, just based on who you believe you are, because of the way you treat yourself, then you don't hear any of the noise. You don't hear the good or the bad. You stop listening, because the only opinion that matters to you is your own. And when you have a good one, which comes from treating yourself the way you deserve to be treated and treating yourself like you love yourself, that's when you'll reach that point. And when you reach that point, or at least start aiming up, you're not going to settle for other people that aren't aiming up either. You won't. Your frequency will raise. If you want to look at it in a spiritual way, like I was saying earlier, your frequency is going to raise, and you're not going to settle for anybody on a lower vibration. You won't, because you won't want to, because you don't want to settle for anybody that doesn't love themselves either, because those relationships are fucking awful. Again, invest in somebody based on how much they are investing in you, not based on how much you like that person, not based on how much they say they like you, not based on how much you think things might work out or could work out. Base it on the logical facts. And this is why I think women get hurt more in relationships than guys do, because guys tend to lean more on reality and logical reasoning rather than emotional centers of their brain, which is just a biological difference between men and women. Say what you want to say. Women are higher in neuroticism than men are. Not a good or bad thing. They're just more prone to those things because of their emotion centers. In my eyes, that's due to the fact that they have to raise children, and biologically, that's how we've evolutionarily gotten to this point. all that aside, that's why I think women fall into the trap more, because they tend to believe like, okay, it seems like maybe there's a potential opportunity for this in the future for the relationship to work out. Like maybe this could work out eventually, and then they end up getting hurt. But then a guy is tended to believe more so like, oh, actually she just likes my attention and I'm just going to take it for what it is and look at it more logically and not emotionally, and then allow themselves to just heal earlier. That's why I think girls fall into this trap more often. But it happens to everyone, and it happens a lot, and it happens especially with college students, which is why I think it's very important for people to learn this, especially when they're into someone and thinking about getting into a relationship with somebody, because it is the thing that is going to make you feel the most pain, especially when you love somebody or like somebody a lot, or have been talking to someone for a while and want to make it serious and are gonna risk doing things that are going to end up hurting your feelings. Do not invest in somebody based on how much you like them. Invest in somebody based on how much they are investing in you. That's that. Thank you for tuning into episode number 26 of the Jason Scalora Show. More episodes to come out soon. Again, 2 episodes coming out soon. The next one that I'm recording this coming week is going to be with an ex-prison convict who just got out last week, actually. And that's going to be super interesting. Stay tuned for that. Like, comment, subscribe, do all that good stuff if you want to. If not, that's cool too. I just hope you got some value out of this. That's all. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for tuning into episode number 26. Peace, love, happiness. Love yourself because I love you, and stay handsome. Peace.
This is a Cinema Beats production.